Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Manifold Wisdom. Today, we have the opportunity to have seated here in our very nice makeshift studio today because the truth of the matter is that anywhere you can catch PK, just catch him and hold him. So we didn't have the luxury of getting a proper studio, but I think that this is good, right? You can all see us, and I think that this is going to be a very big blessing to you that is listening here today because PK, I would like to describe him as a man of the future, for the future. He comes with a very strong message for everyone who has a future. And I believe that that is literally everybody, whether you're young or you're old, whether you're black, you're white, whatever it is you are in life, or wherever it is that you are in life, he has a message for you. Manifold Wisdom basically is a program where we intend to communicate God's wisdom that's available for humans in every aspect, every facet, every ramification of life. But today we are focused on a particular demography, and that demography is that demography of people that have been existing from the beginning of the world. I think that one of the first things that even happened after man fell was an immigration or or migration, and all through scriptures we find that it has happened from Abraham to Moses to Naomi to Ruth to literally like a lot of people, and God worked with those people. And I believe that God has a message for immigrants. So today we are talking about manifold wisdom for immigrants, and PK, the man of the future for the future, is with us today to share God's wisdom on what do immigrants need to know, whether you migrated for greener pastures or you're just trying to survive or you are running away from something that's pursuing you. Whatever it is the reason why you left where you were to where you are right now. God has wisdom that will help you to survive and to thrive in that land where you are. And it's such a great privilege to have PK here today. PK, I am personally very blessed to have you in Ottawa. It's a unique opportunity that I've been looking forward to for a very long time, especially having seen the impact of your work in the life of my friends. And I know Jim is probably watching this, but in the life of my friends and in organizations that I've heard about. In fact, I had a conversation with a friend this morning, and I was trying to explain some personal issues, and because I also had to be with PK, and he says PK is a brand you don't want to play with. So we can come back and discuss this, but go and attend to PK. I'm really happy to be here today. First of all, PK is here for Cypher Spectra, which is a part of his global tour. PK is going to be in more than, right now confirmed already, more than 21 different cities, with a message from the future. It's called the Feedback from the Future. And that's what has brought PK to Ottawa, Canada. And he's from here, he's going to Toronto, I know he's going to be in Manitoba, Calgary, I know he's coming to Manchester. I have friends that are already working towards, receiving him in Manchester and Birmingham, for example, and many other cities like that. So I'll cut to the chase, right? And I would not even start by asking PK to introduce himself, because if you want to know who PK is, you can either visit pkalone.com, or you can do a quick Google search, or even check ChatGPT. When I was working on something, on the communication material towards this program, I just asked ChatGPT, who is PK Alone? What are his strongest points? And it was tons and tons of pages of stuff, And I think that's it's such a privilege to have you here, sir.
It's a privilege to be here. I'm excited.
Awesome.
I'm having a great time in Ottawa.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. I like I introduced, I want us to speak to the immigrant communities, not just here in Ottawa, but immigrant communities all over the world.
Great.
And not just African immigrants. I'm talking about everybody who's moving from anywhere to anywhere. I think that God has a wisdom for them, and I know that He has put that wisdom in your heart. And what I really expect from this, or what I'm anticipating from this, is you pouring out your heart, communicating the intention of God, and more importantly, the wisdom of God that will help immigrants to survive, and more importantly, to thrive in the land that they have found themselves. So a quick question would be, is there any benefits to migrating? And I'm asking that question because a lot of people have found themselves in countries or in places or in cities where they are, not because they wanted to be there by design. There's an African proverb that says something must chase a person. They could have been something chasing some people, or they might have been, an expectation for living where they were. Is there any benefits to it? Is there anything that is God aware of such decisions, and is God in support of those kinds of decisions?
Yeah, I mean, again, thank you for bringing me on this. It's a topic I'm very passionate about. I live in Dallas myself, so I've moved, right? And I move. I mean, we just spoke about 21 cities. I move around the world, right? What people don't know is that migration is existential, right? Short of calling it a natural, necessary progression of the human condition itself. And when God made the world, right, He said, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. He said, fill the earth. And when He said, fill the earth, there were no visas in the world. You are supposed to be able to move at the speed of choice, at the speed of preference. And there is a state of meaning and purpose that is not possible in the human experience except that movement happened. That movement was a command. Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. If you look at the geography of the earth and the space called earth, and we are supposed to fill it, we have still not filled it today. Right? So, human beings were supposed to be able to move in the world freely. So, visa is not the will of God to start with. Visa is a human invention in response to human unguardedness. There was a time there were no visas in the world. As at 1982-81, you don't need a visa to go to the UK as a Nigerian, right? And many countries enjoy that all over the world to different places. There are still countries today who don't need a visa to go anywhere. The United States, the United Kingdom, the Arab Emirates, Singaporeans. I mean, that is still happening. Because ideally, movement is necessity. Anyhow you look at it, if you don't move, you are going to die. Even physically, your body begins to depreciate. Movement is the necessary science of the human condition. We must be moving. For our ideas to be complete, for our meaning to elevate, right, we need movement. And human beings began to misbehave as they moved. And so nations became more territorial. People had to begin to protect their borders. But just because you now need approval to move does not change the fact of what movement was supposed to be in the first place. At the beginning, it was not so that anybody will require approval to go anywhere. So if you understand that, when you take yourself today in 2025 to a state where you don't need a visa to move in the world, before you allow anybody call it relocation for you, it's penetration first. And before you are even call it penetration yourself, it's restoration first. You have restored yourself back to that man in Genesis 1 that was supposed to be able to move in the world without the approval of nobody. If you expand that, the countries with the freedom to move without approval are the most prosperous. The countries with citizens who need approval to move in the world are the poorest. You see what I'm saying? Because there's an advantage in the limitless, right, capability of the human spirit. And so if you live where you are and you take yourself to a place by whatever articulation, by whatever collaboration or association, where you don't need a visa to move in the world anymore, you have now been restored. You are restored to the original design. You are the man that was told to fill the earth, right? So let's get that straight. God is the designer of migration. So nobody should be praying, is migration the will of God? Migration is God. There will be no advancement in the human condition except human beings moved. All through scriptures, people moved. The idea of a powerful dispersion or a weighty diaspora is necessitated by the fact of migration. Abraham moved, Isaac, Jacob, Ezra. All of those guys are dispersions. All of those guys are diaspora. Ezra. Even the idea of God coming down from heaven to earth is diaspora too. Really? Right? So you see that nothing. Jesus went to Egypt. It's either you are birthing something or shifting away from a distraction. But movement is a necessity. The people who cannot move don't do too much in the world. The ideas that pass the test of locality and for whatever reason fail the test of universality don't do too much in the world. Microsoft is a powerful idea. Bill Gates was already a very rich man, even if Microsoft was selling in America alone. He doesn't need to sell Microsoft to sell Windows anywhere else to be very prosperous. He was already very prosperous, selling to the Americans. But there is a state of strength you will not attain to if you are going to honor the demands of your locality at the expense of that of universality. And so Bill Gates had to push Microsoft all over the world, right? Even to the poorest countries in the world, Microsoft is there. It's not just the idea of trying to make money. It is the, truth that the strength of ideas are tested by its universality. A watch has to be a watch in every country. You can't be a watch in Ottawa and be a shoe in Japan because you cross border. You can't be tall in Jamaica and be short in Lagos the next day because you cross border. Once you are tall in every economy. Once you say shoe, it has one meaning globally. That is the test of universality. What happens to small nations is that you have a lot of strong people who pass the test of locality but fail the test of universality. If you are a millionaire in Naira, are you a millionaire? You are not a millionaire except you are a millionaire in every currency. Otherwise, you can just take 10,000 Naira and go to Zimbabwe. You are a millionaire instantly, right? You are eating a loaf of bread for 4 million Zimbabwean dollars. But it's millions, right? So it's not in the number. The strength of a material is in its universal appeal, its global weight, right? And it's important that I expand it to that level so that any form of low self-esteem or inferiority complex that greets people because they made a commitment to move should be destroyed. The best ideas are the ideas that moved. Microsoft is not being used by Americans alone. Toyota is not driven by Japanese alone. Honda is not driven by Japanese alone. Honda, Toyota are in every country in the world. Think about it. The most prosperous nations have something they have bequeathed to the world, right? Japan alone has Sony, Panasonic, Honda, Toyota, Hitachi, Mitsubishi, Korea, Hyundai, Kia, LG, Samsung, Germany, BMW, Opel. We can go on and on. Mercedes, Heineken, SAP. We can go on and on. The United States, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Ford, iPhone, Apple. We can go McDonald's. We can go on and on. Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, Jamaica, the poorest countries are talking to themselves. The most prosperous countries are talking to the whole world. So we need people to now change their mentality from the smallness of survival The fact that you are responding to the force of your economics to move to the world should be put in perspective. Something has to push you. If you don't move intentionally, discomfort will push you out. But honor the fact that a necessity has pushed you out. Don't think that you are here because you want to survive, right? You are here because you are penetrating. It's penetration that took Facebook to Lagos. It's penetration that took Peugeot to Lagos. It's penetration that took Toyota to every country in the world. It's about penetration, the penetration of ideas. The problem with people when they move is they forget that, or they don't know that. And so they are committed to the movement of the body and the comfort you can experience in their host country. Meanwhile, it should be about the movement of the brain. It's about the movement of ideas. Now, ideas is what is moving in the world, really. Some ideas will require a human body to go with it. Some ideas we need to go alone. The human body can be going to visit it in different places. That's what Bill Gates is doing. But some ideas require that you literally have to follow the idea. The only one we don't want to see is when the body moves and there's no idea following it. What you are not going to go and do when you get to your host country is to become a victim or a slave in that environment, right? The whole idea of movement, even in scripture, all those who moved became power centers in their host cities, in the host nations that they went. Abraham became a powerful person in that host country. He had an entire army available to him, enough to take on 3 countries from his own compound, right? Isaac, Jacob, Nehemiah, Daniel became prime minister. Joseph became the leader of a new world, right? So when people move, they don't move to go get a small permitted space in a new environment. They moved to communicate a new form of power. There will be nothing called slave trade today. There will be nothing called colonialism, as evil as it is. It is basically that a people left their comfort zone, came to another environment as guests, dominated that environment, and became the power blocks in that environment, superimposed their own ideas on the people of that environment, and conquered the entire territory. You see? Now, that should still be happening, but legitimately, in products, in services, right? We still need, somebody said I'm Pan-African. Because I'm Pan-African, I don't want to wear European suits. I don't want to wear European clothes. I don't want to wear European shoes. I don't want to use their perfumes. I said, that's not Pan-African. That is pan-stupid. That's very pan-stupid. He said, what do you mean? I said, because why do you are trying to blame the sense of adventure of a people. You want to blame them for the wretchedness of your own experience. What stopped you from going to Europe as well to get the real Pan-Africanism is not about not using what is European or what is Western. The real Pan-Africanism is to take what is African to Europe. So you are eating salad, you are wearing suits. Okay, can you take ashoke to them as well and give them kenke and jollof rice so that everybody is eating it like Afrobeat is doing right now? The idea, we need cross-pollination of ideas and cultures. We should not be angry because people sell their culture to us. We should be disappointed when we are not selling our own culture to them. So that is, you eating salad is pan-Europe. You wearing suit is pan-Europe. Okay? When the white man is eating eba or keke, or is wearing ashoke, or is wearing kente, that is pan-African. So it's really about how we push that which is original to ourselves and put it in the world. So to the question, is it God? Is it right? It is necessary. It's not just right. It's beyond, it transcends the limits of right and wrong. It is about the needful. It is needful that we move, particularly today. What nation can prosper today if you are not collecting, attracting, purchasing power from all over the world and sending it to headquarters? in Lagos or in Banjul. So all that money that Japanese corporations take all over the world, it goes back to Tokyo. All the money that American corporations take all over the world, it goes back to the United States, right? So we are weak because we don't have ideas that are attracting purchasing power from all over the world and bringing it into headquarters in Abuja or in Lagos or in Accra or in Nairobi, and these are the things we have to do. So we need to get more intelligent in how we move. Movement is not the problem. Just like eating is not the problem, it's what you are eating. In the same way, movement is not the problem, it's how we are moving. The intelligence and the science and the protocol that define that movement, right? What kind of power are we creating as we move? That is the conversation we need to have. But it is the will of God that movement has to happen.
That's actually very insightful. Thank you so much, PK. I think that one of the things that I'm the straight answer is migration or movement is God's will.
It's God's will.
It's God's will. So if it is God's will, and like double clicking on what you said, it's not so much about just moving, it's about how we move. So the question is, how are we supposed to move?
Great.
What's the big picture that people who want to move should have at the back of their minds when they plan to move? I know you talked about moving, not just the body moving, but the ideas also moving. But what is that idea?
Great. So the beginning of that, first of all, is to know that the moment movement becomes priority for you, in as much as community is important, you have to know that you are coming from a people. So as a Nigerian, going to the United States, I left 200 million Nigerians at home. 200 million. If talking to Nigerians is my goal, I don't need to leave Nigeria. 200 million Nigerians are available to me. So if I leave Nigeria and I'm in America, I'm not looking for Nigerians here. That is not my goal at all, because it shouldn't be a goal. I can't be looking for what is not missing. And I cannot be looking for what I already have. It's lunacy. If I'm crying on this show now and I say, guys, what's your problem? It's like, I'm looking for my watch. And you can all see my watch on my wrist. And I'm crying, I can't find my watch. It's a flavor of lunacy. Probably the beginning of it, maybe in its earliest version. To be looking for what is not missing, or to be looking for what you already have. So I can't be looking for Nigerians in the world. So you must understand, therefore, that you are going to mix with a culture that is existentially not yours. And so you are a guest. Now, remember that there is no honor for residents. I always tell people, there is no residence of honor. It's guest of honor. Guest of honor. So no matter how close I am to you, I must remain a guest. Because the moment I become a resident, my honor disappears. Because there is no plan for. So when I say residence, is metaphor for familiarity. So you don't get into any environment and forget the mandate that brought you here. The problem is people don't have a mandate. So they get to a place, they get comfortable, and they become resident. I don't mean resident like legal papers or anything. I mean the mentality that you are okay. And then you just settle. And then you sit down, you forget that there is work to do. When the white man picks his bag, and I'm not against that at all, and says he's going to Africa, it's on a mission. It's not just going to go and smile and laugh. It's going to take something. And that is absolutely right and correct, right? The problem is not that people are coming to Africa, it's that the Africans are not going anywhere. And when they go anywhere, they are not territorial, they are not driven by a mandate. So that's where we should begin from. If you have to travel, if you have to migrate, the top question before you is, what is your agenda? What is your agenda? Why is this necessary? Why do you need to be a guest in another country, to endure that every morning you wake up, 90% of the people you see don't look like you, don't talk like you. There's a lot of intimidation in that. Why do you want to surrender yourself to such torture, so to say, except that there is a superior idea that is driving you? So the guy who's coming to Africa is going to eat your food, he's going to greet people, he's going to endure the sun, probably get attacked by malaria here and there, but he knows why he's here. That's the difference. He knows why he's here. So economics, you see, I always say to people, anything that is commonly experienced in the human condition should not be a testimony. Like breath. Nobody should be thanking God that you woke up in the morning. That's a common experience. Fools wake up. Wise people wake up. Killers wake up. Rapists wake up in the morning. Devils wake up. Terrorists. The terrorist that is going to blow somewhere now is going to wake up to blow it. The guys who did 9/11, all of them woke up that morning to go kill thousands of people. So you cannot build your testimony around, okay, it's snowing. Every fool in Canada experiences snow. So you really can't, once it's a common experience in the human condition, you have to be careful you have to be guarded how you relate with it, because nobody pays you for your similarities with people. You are paid, honored, and respected for your difference. So you can't be doing what everybody can do and expected to be taken seriously by anybody. Anybody can brush their teeth. Who gets paid for it? Everybody can go to bed tonight. Who gets paid for it? You are paid for the things everybody cannot do, or are not willing to do, or are not prepared to do, or are not able to do. Right? So you want to cap around difference. So what is that thing that is the agenda you represent in the United States, in Canada, in England? I'll share mine with you. Mine is that 80 million people have to be in my database. People who speak different languages. An incredibly diversified group operating at a level of thinking that I understand must sit on a database that I created because I superimposed a type of thinking into the world, and I'm renting a space in the head and the heart of 80 million people. I can't do that from Nigeria alone. I have to. Even if I have 80 million people from Nigeria, it fails the test of my agenda, because I need Americans in that agenda. I need British in that agenda. I need everybody in that agenda. So of necessity, I have to move, right? So it begins for me with, what is your agenda? Number two is, understand that your greatest assets in your new geography, in your host country, are not your people. Not your people. Nigerians don't live in Canada. Nigerians don't live in London. Nigerians don't live in America. Nigerians live in Nigeria inside Canada. Nigerians live in Nigeria inside London. Ghanaians live in Ghana inside America. Because it's easy. It's called sympathetic resonance. It is easy to perform to the radiation of your own people and its weakness. Meeting a stranger is tough. You never talk to people you know. But how many things are you going to do in this world if you don't talk to strangers? The whole concept of evangelism is about what? Attracting people who are not you into your world. The whole idea of market penetration is what? Putting a product in environments where they didn't apply for it. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't get comfortable with meeting strangers, then you're not going to market anything, you're not going to sell anything. At the end of the day, democracy is not ours. Federal government is not African. Capitalism is not African. Right? But we practice all these things because some people moved and said we will take these things to strangers. So the whole idea, the science of managing strangers is actually the economy of power in the world. Right? In anything, anyhow you want to look at it. So we have to get comfortable to operate beyond the limits of our own community. Number three, your top goal is to unlock gratitude in the environment that you find yourself. That is your top goal. And the only way to unlock gratitude is to make contributions. Is to make contributions and impact, right? A church was starting somewhere in America, and I was advising them. And they wanted to, we spoke about, they should have social impact, set up a non-profit, do some things socially. And they said, the pastor said, it has always been his passion to feed people, so maybe they should come out and feed people. I said, yeah, you see, there's no intelligence in that, because you are deciding the problems you want to solve in an environment where you want to unlock gratitude. That's not what you do. What you need to do as a group is to take a trip to the council office and go and talk to the mayor. What are your pain points? What is it that you want to solve in this city? You don't just decide on the help you want to give. You don't give on your terms. You give on the terms of the recipient. It is your goal is to unlock something in the recipient. So you have to know what the recipient wants to give him what he needs. So understanding the pain points in your city. What is the priority of this city? Is it tech? Is it youth restlessness? Is it women, is it deficiency of some skills, maybe nursing skills? Maybe so you want to set up a training program to train nurses for free if you want to be socially impactful, right? So you want to understand I always ask people, how do you know where you should live? You are going to Canada. How do you know the city you should live? I know the city I'm going to live. I knew the city I'm going to live before I went to the city, before I even went to America at all. Where are you going to live? Why did you choose that city? Is it because your cousin is there? Is it because your friends are there? Why did you choose that city? What is the value of that city to your agenda, right? So we can go on and on. I'll let you expand the questions, right? But the idea is fundamentally you must be on a mission. Missionaries are those who have the right to move.
Missionaries are those who have the right to move. So what happens to people who have now found themselves? They didn't have an agenda, they didn't have a plan, they didn't have a mission, and they want to, in quotes, redeem time.
Yes.
They want to make corrections. Because I believe that there might be one or two people watching this and that believe that, look, I didn't know all these things. I wish that I listened to this program before I came.
Correct.
What can I do now?
Yes. So when the going gets tough, the tough cannot just keep going. That's what they say. So the going gets tough, the tough gets going. He has assumed that he knows the way. That's why he keeps going. You can get lost. So when the going gets tough, the tough seeks collaboration. And to collaboration, we must turn. And, that begins with understanding that people have mastered the environment you are in. People were born in that environment. There are secrets in that environment. You will live 1,000 years twice and never know. Right? So you have to connect. If you ask me, what is the one job of the immigrant? He can do so many things, but one thing he can't afford not to be able to do effectively is the capacity to collaborate, to meet with people, to mix with the indigents of the land, right? And part of that is to then intentionally know how to judge yourself. Don't look to your people to judge yourself. Ask yourself, what are the standards of performance here? What does exceptional performance look like in this country or in this city, right? Most likely, the people meeting that standard the most are not like you. So what do you need to do to meet that standard, right? Which is, you rising to your best in that environment. You hear small things like, an immigrant will tell you maybe, and when we say immigrant too, we are talking about not just people who come from third world economies, but people who come from first world countries who are moving to another first world country. And I always say that, there are 5 factors that define a first world country at the core. When they say first world country, whether it's Belgium or United States, it's 5 things at the core. Enabling environment, quality of life, equal opportunities, access to credit, and power of the currency. Those are the key things, right? So those are the things you now have in this new environment. You cannot be producing any result right, different from the potential of those factors. Because those are the factors that Bill Gates have. Those are the same factors that defined, all the great people you want to know. In America, the average immigrant, particularly immigrants from the third world, compare themselves with the average, right, American, for example, if you're in America, or the average Canadian. But I always ask them, so you hear statements like, oh, white people don't care what you wear. They don't care what you wear. Really? What white people? Because Ralph Lauren did not have a black model until 1990 something, I think, or thereabout. So who was buying these clothes all this while? When Cerruti, 1881, started, you were still slaves. So who did they design these things for? Who was buying these things? It's white people. So the idea is, the white people that you know are your lower middle class person who works with you at the middle level in Google or wherever you are working, right? And you've not met the guys at the top. So you go into a Gucci store and see who's coming in there. Go to a Louis Vuitton store, go to a Mercedes-Benz showroom. You won't even see them there because somebody that they pay will come and get all those things for them, right? So, but the idea is that we don't know what goes on at the top. We talk to everyday people. Our understanding of, maybe if you're in Asia, of a Japanese citizen or an American citizen or a British citizen or a Canadian are everyday people that we meet in our own everyday contemporary life, right? Which is people at the bottom of the triangle or people at the middle of the triangle at best. You really don't communicate or relate with people at the top of the triangle. And how will you do that anyway, except you want to get to the top of the triangle, right? And we are not alone. If you look at the Indian immigrant, it thinks differently. It's targeting the top of that triangle. That's what it's targeting. Whether it's in London or America or Canada, it doesn't matter. That's what it wants to do, right? You look at some of the biggest tech companies today, there's an Indian on top of that. You see, the average immigrant just want to earn $10,000, right? $15,000. To earn that, you don't need the top of the triangle. Somewhere at the middle of the triangle or even before the middle, you're already earning that, right? But you see, why is that enough? It's enough because what you do with it, your people find you amazing with what you do with it. You're able to buy 4 houses or 5 houses in real estate, and so they respect you for that. You're able to go home and take some dollars home and shine, right? That is what it is. So the bar is low, and the society is a society that is built on a culture of excellence. They are not trained. Somebody was coming to the United States to, function in the knowledge space and all of that. So he called me up to say, PK, I'm coming, this is what I want to do, and all of that. I said, well, I hope you just can't come here and be saying, don't give up, plan, go set your goals. Because everybody does that. That is not a critical advantage anymore. Zig Ziglar has said that for over how many years? John C. Maxwell has said that already. So to be a thought leader in America now, the things you are saying has to be on another level. You are not just going to come and say the regular things you can say in Nigeria. So that's what you really need to prepare for. And it was like, wow, you didn't think about it that way. I said, but it's okay if you're also coming to come and talk to Nigerians. Then you can continue to recycle that conversation. So it comes down to holding yourself accountable to the true standard of excellence in that environment. Whatever it is that would define the rise of a Bill Gates or a Jeff Bezos has to be what you're going to hold yourself accountable to, right? That is what I think that you now need to begin to do, to refuse to be defined by the noise in your own community, by people who look like you, to rather choose to be defined by the true standards of excellence in that environment. I know somebody who worked for me at the time, who schooled abroad, spent about 4 or 5 years abroad, and I asked her, can you just take your phone and call? You're in class in school for masters with your friends. This is a class that, as a black person, you are a minority. everybody there were Caucasians. So why don't you just call one of them and play with them right now on the phone? Just say, hey, how you doing? It's been how many years now since you left school? Just talk to them. Don't call anybody, right? Because you went to the school did not go through you. And go and ask anybody. Over 90% of the people who school abroad, who schooled in this country, let them call their mates, or maybe their mates just want to gist. Will he call you? Do you understand? Will they call you? Will they think of you? It's not going to think of you because you, in that class, you were just passing the test of technicality, not of essence, right? You were just going there to pass the exams and quickly run back to your community and run back to your community. So you were in that class, but you didn't penetrate the class. You see, don't forget what I said about penetration. You didn't penetrate the class. In other words, you were around, you were not present. We need to be more present, right? And answer the call of excellence in our host environments. I think that's the difference.
That's actually very profound. And because we've had this conversation going for quite a while, I think that point you made when you talked about the culture of excellence is an excellent segue into the concept of the culture of power, which is something you talk about a lot. How does it apply to the immigrant community? And what are the nuances that we need to, because we need a granular breakdown.
Yes.
Because one of the goals for me is someone that is watching this needs to be able to find themselves somewhere in the middle of this conversation and be able to connect the dots there. Because I firmly believe that if more people have access to this kinds of information, more access to this kind of knowledge, it's the population of Africans, the population of immigrants in any country will no longer be a disadvantage. It will become an advantage because the people that are coming there are now quality people and they are not becoming a nuisance to the society. It will make countries and economies like Canada, for example, be more receptive to immigrants. Because one of the major challenges we are facing right now is that these countries are shutting down their borders. They're saying the nuisance value of the immigrants is getting too much for us to be able to bear. Right. And it's not supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be.
So what is that granular breakdown of the culture of power such that it's very applicable to anybody who's listening to this?
I mean, so the beginning really is to know that, success is not a goal. Success should never be a goal. You were lied to when they told you about success seminars and conferences and to pursue success. Success is an experience. It's what happens to you when you solve problems. You are just like the pipe. The pipe has no commitment to be wet. It has no zeal or faith to be wet. You just want to pass out water to those who are thirsty. But as long as it's passing out that water, whether he likes it or not, a residue of what is passing out will remain in it. That's what the scripture meant when it said, he that waters will himself be watered. Right? Once you are passing out water, even if you don't want water, water will remain with you. You'll be wet. Right? And that's how success happens. Because you are focused on making things happen for people. So nobody should worry about success. One thing that is not natural, no matter what you do, is power. And you can have so much money, that's success, and have zero power. And, when communities are marginalized, when communities are persecuted, they can call it different names and they will not be wrong. But what is really happening is that they are powerless people. They are extremely powerless people. And, what the Jews learned from the Second World War, critically, was that they should never be powerless again. And so they are very intentional about their power in any sector they find themselves, right? And so you can either be pitiful or powerful. It's a choice you are going to make at some point, or you are going to ignore, right? And so for me, I think that everybody with money is holding it in custody for the person with power. You can have a lot of money and have no power, but you cannot have power and not have money, right? So there are basic things to do. It doesn't matter whether you are building a career, you are running a business, or you are an artist, or you are singing or acting, or you are a politician. Basic things. You are in the city. Okay. who are the culture shapers in this city? Who are the culture shapers? How do you meet them? I always ask 5 questions. Who are the persons of value? They exist in every city. How do you meet them? If you meet them, what do you say? Because what's your story? Why should they meet you? Who the heck are you? If you know what to say, how do you say it? Right? And when I say, I don't mean just verbal communication, but your entire demeanor, your verbal cues, non-verbal cues. Right? So, who are the top lawyers in this city? Who are the communities of value, chambers of commerces? What are in my city, for example, there's something called leadership plano in my city where I live. And everybody that is somebody really at the highest level will come to leadership plano to speak to and to tell you about how things work in the city. The hope is that the people who attend this program are going to grow into some form of power center in the city in a couple of years or in time. Why will you not know about that? Because that is your one-stop point to meet the power in the city. The police chief is going to come there. The mayor is going to come there. The city council people are going to come there. The business people are going to come there. The leaders of agencies and parastatals and everybody that matter is going to come there. That is you meeting everybody. Now, depending on who you are, do you understand? You don't need more than that room, right? So, basic things like that. Like I said earlier, what is the city prioritizing? What is the country prioritizing? Right? These are questions you have to know. In America, is very dynamic because no 2 cities are the same. In America, it's like 50 countries in one environment. All of them with their uniqueness, with their own peculiarities, right? So I wouldn't know what the pressing issue would be for Ottawa. For the longest of time, I know about Ottawa, but it never occurred to me that this is like Washington in Canada, right? That is telling me a lot, and it's shifting some of my plans for Canada. There are some places I was prioritizing when it dawned on me that, oh, wait a minute, this is the seat of power, right? I need to adjust and turn the ship a bit and focus on this environment because I know what I'm here to do. So I think that is what it is. Being able to understand the power centers, gatekeepers within your environment, right? Why would anybody be in the city? I know somebody who I was speaking to, he has been in the city for 22 years. And I said, I'm not asking you to call your present mayor. Text one of the mayors in 22 years. Do you know how many mayors have been in this city? Text one of them. He doesn't know any of them. And I can tell you that the people who are listening to us right now, by the time you run that test, you'll be shocked that over 90% of them cannot answer the same question. They have no plan to answer that question. And every day power is moving and power is shifting. How did that happen? What do you give your kids? Real estate? Who's coming to your house 5 years from now? You're going to be 40 next week. Okay, so who's on the guest list? Who's going to come see you? It tells us who you are in this city, right? So I think that people need to go out of their way to learn, to attend programs. To ask, what is the city celebrating? I can't tell you how much you will get there. What does the city celebrate? Every city has a publication. They show you what they are celebrating, what is important to them. You can literally know everywhere the mayor is going to be in this city all through this year. How are you going to be there? How are you going to be in that kind of room, right? Even how you play. Where do you just go and call your friends and be playing soccer in a corner? Do you understand? Or do you want to be part of a soccer, arrangement within your city? Or play bigger, tennis, golf? Do you understand? It's difficult to find a fool on the golf course. It's very difficult. Most likely, if he's playing golf, he's somebody on some level. Why does that not interest you? You do many other things that are not important to you. Why would you go out of your way to just learn this skill? They're just basic things that change the quality of people on your phone. And so what I would leave with people is, show me your numbers. Show me the contact on your phone. I know who you are. I know what you will never do. I know what you will never know. I know who you will never talk to in your life. You see what I'm saying? Because you are not intentional about who qualifies for the investment of your time and your energy. You are not intentional about who qualifies to be saved on your phone. I met somebody who told me that, sir, can you save my number? I said, no, you save mine. I don't need to save your number. You have to work harder for me to save your number. I don't save people's number anyhow. I don't have the time to be saving numbers. You save my number, right? And keep working, and let's keep talking. Maybe one day I will find it necessary for me to save your number. Not because I'm putting him down, but because I tie an economy to the numbers I save on my phone. So you want to go out of your way to know all the power centers in this city. Who are the billionaires? Do you know any billionaire in your city? Do you even know who they are? I'm not saying, do you even know who they are? Do you know the businesses they control? I had a meeting with somebody and I said, in my country, if you have an address in a place called Banana Island in Ikoyi, Lagos, Nigeria, you don't need to say much. People have an idea of who you are. Even if they don't know all you are capable of, they know what you are not. They know you are not a fool. Something must be working around your life for you to have an address in Banana Island. So I asked this top official in my city, where is that? What zip code is that banana? And he gave it to me. I was trying to get an office. So I wanted to know where my office would be. And he said, this particular zip code. I said, okay. He gave me about 3 or 4 zip codes that if your office is here, people know you are serious. You are doing something serious, right? What about where people live? Give me zip codes. So people don't even know that. People just say, oh, so you want to be very intentional about how you are meeting people. City events. How many of them do you go to? When last have you visited? Who do you write letters to? Are you aware that there is a mail system that ensures that top officials go through communication? Do you understand? What stops you from writing a letter to your mayor, recognizing who he is, making a small complaint, talking about his value, what he represents? Who told you you're not going to be replied? What about all your city council people? What about writing a letter to them, right? What about writing a letter to the U.S. president? As a matter of fact, let's go beyond the city now. What about writing a letter to the U.S. president or to senators? Who is the senator representing your city? Are you aware of that? No. So, do you know that there are people who immigration will mess with them in one way or the other? They can't get back to the country, and they will have to get a senator to write a letter to the USCIS, and it changes the game, right? Where are you going to start that from? Are you aware that you can actually go to the website of the senator representing you and message them, and they will respond to you because they have an office that is managing that, right? So when will the city know that you are here? That's the question. You see, there is no way for me to tell you this is what you have to do. I've given different examples of things you have to do. There are many, countless, but the top goal is I moved in quietly into this city. Very quiet. Nobody knew when I came. But people should know that I'm here. In the next 2 years, people should know that I'm here in your area of expertise, whether it's non-profit, whether it's career, whether it's, what are you going to do, right? Where do you volunteer? In the West, volunteering is very powerful. Where are you going to volunteer? What are you going to do? Do you want to join the Salvation Army? Do you want to join CATSA, where they are helping kids that are homeless? Do you want to be part of a food pantry and distribute food every Saturday and meet people there who do that? Those people are run by people, and those are things that define Western culture. So you are plugging yourself into, because MK Abiola was very rich, but he gave personally. He didn't institutionalize his giving, right? Over here, the only way you give is to institutionalize it, because there's a reward for it, right? So there are tax advantages that you get for giving, right? So a lot of giving at tax deductible at that level. So you have to understand that this is not your culture. You have to know what works, and you have to ask yourself, how do I be part of all of what is working? So what the city is celebrating, what the country is celebrating, what the culture is celebrating, what the culture is in need of, what is complaining about, right? Those are the things you want to know, and to decide how you want to camp around those things. That's how to grow your power. It's not going to happen by chance. It's not going to happen because you are the best in class. It's not going to happen because you are buying houses. It's not going to happen because you are earning. How much money can you possibly earn? This is the country of Bill Gates. This is the country of Jeff Bezos. This is the country. What do you think you are going to, how much money are you going to have for them to be talking to you? Really? So it's not going to come from all of that. It's going to come from something else. You have to put yourself in where traction is. And you have to do that deliberately every day.
Amazing, PK. You have done the very, very, very important work here. And so before we leave, right, I just want us to talk about Cypher Spectra just a little bit. So I have here the notepad for tomorrow's event. So you're speaking here in Ottawa at the Marriott Hotel. That's actually a very big deal. But I'm just curious to know, why is PK touring the world?
Yeah.
And I have mentioned about the immigrant community, but is this the agenda behind this? I like to use agenda. Is it targeting just the immigrant community?
No.
What exactly is the crux of the message? If you were to define, what the impact you want this movement to have on those cities that you're visiting, what would be that one thing?
Yeah.
And how can people, support that?
I was sharing with somebody yesterday that I have 21 cities, 21 messages. I'm not going to repeat a message in any city, right? Because I'm going to understand the city and I'm going to speak to it. But the top goal for PK Alone movement is the idea that 1% of the people in the world control over 60 to 70% of the wealth in the world, right? And that's instructive. So, but the world has existed for, at least in my lifetime, I'm 54 now. And we can't really point to the, positive value of that 1%. It's a very selfish, materialistic 1%. And, ideally, there is enough food in the world for nobody to lack food in the world right now. The only problem with food shortage is distribution. It is in the hands of a few. And it's not going round everybody, right? There's enough wealth in the world. Everybody cannot be a millionaire. Everybody will not be a billionaire. But nobody should be suffering. Nobody should be looking for water. Nobody should be dying for lack of water. Nobody should be dying for shortage of food. Nobody should be doing that. There's enough food in the world, and it's getting better and better with genetically modified, food. I'm sure by 2030, food will be so surplus in the world, we won't even believe it. I know some people have the mentality against GMO that it's not healthy, but I can tell you there's no science that actually proves. We've not lived long enough. We've not eaten GMO foods long enough to actually be sure that GMO is a problem. It's just because it is not naturally created. That's why people have, that mentality about it. And I do have the mentality too, but I'm just saying there's no science that backs it up, right? That GMO is a problem. Okay, but the bigger idea therefore is I want to raise a new 1%. I feel called to raise a new 1%. Somebody said it becomes 2%. I said, I quite frankly don't care about that first 1%. But I feel responsible to raise a fire of a new 1%. People who have the capacity, both mentally and financially, emotionally and spiritually, right, to shape culture and to pretty much bequeath, something of such intrinsic value that years after they are gone, society cannot recover from the positive value they represent, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. And those are the kind of conversations I am having. It transcends the limits of success. It's really about culture shaping. It's about how much, value you can create, how many people you can bring into that value. And part of how I represent that is that if you believe inside of you, if you believe deep down inside of you that at least 1 million people out there will invest in what you represent, either it's your product, your service, or your ideology, or your song, or your poem, or whatever it is that you represent, then you are the one we are looking for. You are the one we want to talk to. You call it pride, call it whatever, but somewhere inside of you, you just believe that at least 1 million people out there should know what I'm doing and should be recipients of what I'm doing. Then you are the one I want to talk to. You are the change makers that I want to talk to. So that's what we are doing. We are leaving a legacy of newness in the world. And as we move from city to city, we are harvesting such quality of people. And some of the cities we are going for the first time, some of them we are returning to. But we are trusting that by 2030, we will have 80 million people that will have believed in the curriculum that we are communicating. That's the idea.
Awesome, amazing. And that's actually very compelling. So I'm using this opportunity to, let everyone know that you can have PK in your city. All you need to do is to visit pkalone.com. Here in Ottawa, PK has been here since yesterday. And here in Ottawa, we are really excited. The anticipation is there. And like I said over the live session that we had, it's such a very critical time.
Yes.
It's very, I can almost say it's prophetic.
Yes.
Because it's a time of great uncertainty. Yeah, especially as the world tries to navigate two major shifts or two major disruptions. And the first one being the technology with AI and all of the changes that are coming with it. The uncertainty about job security, about data, what's going to happen to me, what does AI know about me, and all those kinds of things. And then on top of that is the disruption that is Donald Trump, and with the trade wars and tariffs and all those things that are happening. This I believe is that message of hope.
Correct.
That message of realignment for everyone, and I sincerely hope that everyone finds their way to pkalone.com and register for the event in their city. Or if you don't have an event in your city already, you should actually send a request for an event to be held in your city, and it's going to be very much worth it for you. I'm personally having the time of my life. I'm really excited. This is my first time meeting PK in person, even though I've been in series and several conversations where PK's name has been mentioned, either within organizations or just in my circle of friends. And I'm really excited to be here. There's so much that has happened. I left here at 12 a.m. yesterday because there was too much.
I really want to celebrate, Jai and the entire team here. It was talking about people requesting to host PK alone. That's what we are experiencing here. These guys have been amazing putting this event together, taking care of me, making sure that everything is okay. All I have to do is come in and go, do my thing and go. So it's priceless. These are real warriors and soldiers.
Thank you so much, PK. Thank you so much. And this is a very excellent place to wrap this all up. Thank you so much, PK, for being part of this. Thank you so much for hanging out with us as much as you can. If you have any particular feedback, you can write directly to me through details that you're going to see on your screen. If you have specific things that this video has done to you, please reach out to PK. Again, a very useful resource is pkalone.com. Go there, go there, spend some quality time, understand what PK is trying to do, find your alignment on that page, and find ways, like PK already said, where the going gets tough, don't keep going, collaborate, and look for a way to collaborate with PK. Thank you very much. God